Video. It's pre-recorded, so this is not live. So just listen up right quick. I ain't gonna be long. I guess I'm making this video because I'm just tired of hearing this same thing about Dak. Like, can't people just let this thing go with him? Like, I just made some posts recently on my Facebook, and the reason why I made this post because, and I'm not telling y'all, and I'm first of all, I want to tell y'all, I'm not making this video being the Dak apologist. And I hear so many people, oh, you Dak lovers just will use anything to make him better. He sucks. He ain't no good. He ain't elite. He ain't never gonna take us nowhere. Okay. But the reason why I made this video because I just got to looking at other things. You know what I'm saying? And some of the things I looked at and made a post about was I posted Aaron Rodgers, I posted Drew Brees, and I posted Peyton Manning. All Drew Brees, Peyton Manning just retired recently, not too long ago. And Aaron Rodgers, probably this is, his last hoorah with the Jets. So I posted up some numbers right quick. And the reason why I posted this was because everybody act like it's a team game. Now, the quarterback has to make those few plays in the game to get you over the hump. I understand that. I know that. And Dak's going to have to do that. But when we talk about quarterbacks, to some of these, the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, some of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly. Dan Marino went to one, never went back. He won the greatest quarterbacks ever. John Elway, he got a couple. But how long? I watched John Elway how many times, and they used to say he choked every year with them Broncos until he got him a running game, a legit defense, a running game, all those things that mattered. Because when John Elway didn't have a run game and he had an okay defense, they lost. No matter how good John Elway was. John Elway was a dog, especially in his young years. But until he got everything in place, they were spinning wheels. They were going and losing. He was going to the chip and losing, but they were going because he had that elite ability, but they didn't lose. They lost. They didn't win those games until he got a legit running game that he could lean on, and he didn't have to sit there and throw the ball, chuck it everywhere, right? Jim Kelly, he's a pretty dog. He was a dog. Went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Never been done. Probably never going to be done again. They didn't win them, though. And then when I get to Peyton Manning, when I look at Peyton Manning and, Law made the comparison and people are like, how can you compare Dak Prescott to Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play a game, which is true. But Peyton Manning didn't have elite athletic ability. Peyton Manning didn't have an elite arm. No, he didn't. I watched Peyton Manning. And when Peyton Manning was in college at Tennessee, what championship games did Peyton Manning win? Tell me what college in college, and he was a 4-year guy, right? What championships did he win in college? He didn't win nothing in college. Got to the pros, and I made this post. Peyton Manning made the playoffs, 15 times? I think his playoff record was, 14 and 13? 15 times, and he had 9 one-and-dones, and this is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And even when he went to the Broncos, they got roasted by them Seahawks. When they played the Carolina Panthers, I'm not hating, but Carolina Panthers, dog, Cam Newton, I'm sorry. I didn't think the Carolina Panthers were winning that game because I didn't trust Cam Newton. Cam Newton was nice. I just didn't think he was going to win it. And even Manning didn't even play his best game. He didn't even play his best game in that playoff game. And I think that year he got benched for Brock Osweiler because he struggled during that season, right? 9 one-and-dones, though. 9 of them. Peyton Manning played for how long? Forever. He had 9 one-and-dones. 9 of them. Then I went to Drew Brees. Okay? Well, let me go to A-Rod. I ain't doubting no A-Rod. A-Rod's a dog of a quarterback. He's a monster. The ability. He had the natural ability, okay? But with all that ability, he He only got one chip. He played, what, 18 years? He's in the league 18 years. And it says right here, after that winning that Super Bowl in 2011, it says Rodgers has faltered too often in the playoff stage. In the last 9 years of the playoffs, Rodgers is 7-9. One of those wins came against Joe Webb, who was a placement for Christian Ponder. A-Rod's one of the greatest ever. One chip, 7-9 playoff record since 2011 when he won the Super Bowl. Then I go to Drew Brees. Drew Brees played almost 18 years again? I mean, these guys played forever. He only won one chip. Won the one Super Bowl, and they had good teams. 2017 to 2020. This is what the Saints people were saying. Brees tightened up considerably when the pressures got higher, which is in the postseason. His regular season numbers the past 4 years and those 2017 to 2020 were outstanding, while his postseason numbers became run-of-the-mill journeyman NFL quarterback. I said, I guess because he was older, huh? Right? These are the Saints people saying that about Drew Brees. They had dog teams, but they didn't go nowhere. He had considerably great numbers in the regular season, but in the playoffs, tightened up. Then I brought Blake Bortles in, and people are getting on me. I don't care. I brought Blake Bortles in the picture. So you got Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, guys who played like a total of 50 years altogether, and all they got is 4 chips together. And Peyton had to play forever to get them chips, and he had to get over to the Broncos, right? He had to get over to the Broncos, then get elite squads. Peyton Manning had elite squads in Indy. All them years that they lost, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark, Adrian James, offensive line, you still wasn't winning. Everybody gonna say Tom Brady. He ain't lose Tom Brady every year. Okay, he didn't lose to Tom Brady every year. Then I'll talk about Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles' career record was 24-49, but he had a playoff record of 2-1. And when they went on that run in 2017, and they almost did it, right? In those playoffs, Phil Yates, NFL reporter Phil Yates, said Bortles finished in his NFL career tied for the best playoff win percentage at home, 1,000. Fourth most rushing yards per attempt, 6.2 in NFL history, minimum 250 carries. They almost went to the Super Bowl that year. We saw it. They really could have won that game against New England. So we saying Blake Bortles is elite because he got to an AFC championship game, was one knocking. Dak hadn't got there. So is Blake Bortles more elite than Dak Prescott? Everybody wants to say you just all making excuses for Dak. I'm really not. Go watch my channel. I'll be on Dak. Dak's got to do it. Dak's got to make plays, big plays. Dak's got to make those crucial throws. But when I look at the history of the NFL and I see the history of quarterbacks, we got to stop acting like Dak can't get us to the Super Bowl. He can't get us to a championship game. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. I agree, right? That Green Bay game in 2016. We all watched it. Did y'all really think that we were going to beat Green Bay in 2016 and in the playoffs? We beat them in the regular season, but did y'all really think we were going to be in the playoffs? I was nervous. I was nervous as hell because I felt like this is the playoffs now. Green Bay is going to be a different monster, and so is A-Rod. Going to be a different monster in the playoffs. When I watched them playoff game in Green Bay, they got on us early. It was, 28-3? Who brought us back? Who brought us back? Who gave up those plays at the end? The defense. It wasn't Dak. I don't make no excuses, but can we lay that playoff loss to him? I don't really think we can. 2018, they played the Seahawks. Dak Prescott took them to the game-winning drive. We were losing that game in the end of the fourth quarter. At the end of the fourth quarter, we were losing. Dak did the drive toward the end to win. Now, Seattle, they were ultra conservative that game, and they could have threw the ball more. But are we really gonna look at that? And then when we played the Rams, Dak had a good game. Let me pull up them stats. We played the Rams that game, right? We saw what that running game did to Dallas. They had like 250, 260, 270 yards rushing. Todd Gurley and that backup killed us, gashed us. I mean, what can you do about that when your defense gives it up? So are we laying that one on Dak too? I can't lay those two to Dak. Now, let's get to these last two playoffs games. The 2021 game. Dak didn't play the greatest, but he brought us back. He helped bring us back. That offense was atrocious. Mike McCarthy even said this team was nervous. I felt this team was nervous. I'm going to blame the whole coaching staff, Kellen Moore, the offense, offensive line. Dak had something to do with that. The whole team just played bad. You feel me? Dallas was nutted up on that game as a whole. I can't lay that whole game on Dak. That whole team nutted up. The coaching nutted up. The play caller nutted up. The whole team nutted up. Now, this last playoff game. Yeah, I'm going to put that one a lot more on Dak. Even though you lost Tony Pollard, you didn't have no legit threat when Tony Pollard went out. You only had CeeDee Lamb, dog. Come on, Michael Gallup, you saw the interception. I blame Dak for it when I watched it again. Michael Gallup ran a bad route. Michael Gallup was playing on one leg. But Dak didn't play the greatest. That's the game. If you see the 4 playoff games, I'm going to say that last playoff game, Dak didn't play the greatest, and he needed to play better that game. I said it time and time again. He needed to play better in that game. He was handcuffed, though. But when you're the top quarterback, when you're the elite guy, you got to make those certain throws, right? And he had to make them in the game, and he didn't. So I would say more of that last playoff game was more on him than the previous, in my opinion, right? But when you look at these other quarterbacks that played 10, 15 years, they weren't getting Super Bowl victories their first year. That's a rarity. So, I see Jalen Hurts. He turned up. I don't hate on Jalen Hurts, but let's see him do it. Let's see him do it again. Because if he never does what he did again this past season with a stacked squad, he had a stacked squad, and he got a great draw in the Giants in the playoffs. Nobody thought the Giants was going to beat anybody in the playoffs. And then you played the Niners, who Brock Purdy got knocked out early. That's a part of the game. But when you're playing Josh Johnson, we already knew he was going to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts did his thing in the Super Bowl, I'll admit. He did make some crucial errors that cost the game. You feel me? So I need to see Jalen Hurts do it again before I jump out there and say, oh, he's just the man. There's only a few Patrick Mahomes, dog. Like a few of those. People talking about he ain't a Josh Allen. Okay. That was kind of crazy with Josh Allen in that Chiefs game against Pat Mahomes. That was crazy. They still lost. Josh Allen turns the ball over too. Josh Allen ain't made it to a Super Bowl. So, when I hear everybody dogging Dak and saying we ain't never going to win with Dak, I just can't believe that, because once again, it's a team effort. Now, this year is the year. This is the year for me as I get ready to close, because I'm not going to be too long. This is the year for me. This is the year. If Dallas stays relatively healthy, if they stay healthy the whole year, and especially with your main cog of offensive players, Brandon Cook, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, we'll see if they pick up anybody else. But you got all the elements. Your defense is going to be lights out. Your defense kept you in the game in 2022. I'm sorry. It did. You still could have won that game, and I was frustrated with it. But if everybody stays relatively healthy, Dak does have to make plays. And this is going to be a year I'm really going to look at the Dak Prescott through my eyes, because if you have this type of squad and you still falter and a lot of the mistakes happen with Dak, then I'm going to have to look back and evaluate more and say, I don't know. So this is a year, because even when you had Amari Cooper a couple years before, your play calling was atrocious. You didn't use your guys the way you're supposed to. You feel me? And I don't know if Kellen Moore had Dak in the team's best interest. You feel me? So this is a year I need to see. This is a year that's going to be my super evaluation. But I just get tired of the narrative that Dak can't do it. Yeah, I believe he can do it. It's all elements, though. The defense, the special teams, the offense, all those things have to play a factor in, and luck has to play in a factor of you getting to the chip. So before everybody just sit there and say Dak is whack, look at these other guys that were the elite guys. They weren't dominating Super Bowls. They weren't going every single year. They were going to playoffs and losing. So stop putting this thing on like Dak has to do it all himself. No, it's a team game. What Dak has to do, he has to make critical passes when they're needed the most. That's where you evaluate it. He needs to make those critical passes when it matters the most. In those big games, he's going to have a lot of big games this year. But I ain't looking at these regular season games no more with Dak. I'm looking at the playoffs. And he's got to make those plays in the playoffs. That's where you evaluate these guys. It's no longer the regular season no more with Dak. It's playoffs. But if you're going to hold him to a standard, look at those other guys and say, those guys were elite, and they weren't knocking the door down in Super Bowls. They were struggling. They were losing. They were getting knocked out early. I remember 15-1, right, with Aaron Rodgers after they went to the Super Bowl. What happened? What happened? Knocked out in that first round, that divisional round. Knocked out. So I've seen plenty of other quarterbacks who were not elite make it to the Super Bowl. It's luck. It's a team game, and things have to happen. So before we just keep on crucifying Dak, say he can't do it, look at this year and let's evaluate this year before we go any further and say it. If you have a relatively healthy year and everybody is good, and then you still kind of falter with removing Kellen Moore, then that's when I'm going to look back. And I said this at the beginning of the year, even with Boss and OC and all those guys when we did that show, where I said no more excuses for Dak. There ain't no more excuses. This is a critical year for the team and Dak Prescott, especially if you stay healthy. So does Dak have to really do it this year? I think a championship game will calm down the noise to saying Dak can, because they've been taking steps. But this is a big step with Mike McCarthy, with this staff, because it seems like it's all in one unison. So if you don't do it this year with this staff, then I will sit there and say, yeah, I it might have to make some changes eventually. So go check out my page, Big Game James page. Go read what I go look what I wrote and see where everybody's talking about these elite guys, but those elite guys choked up too. And then you talk about guys who weren't elite and they made it to championship games. So you see where there's a double standard. 1 minute y'all say, well, he ain't like those Peyton Mannings and those type of guys. He ain't like that, but those guys choke too. But I'm a damn sure say he's better than a Blake Bortles, but Blake Bortles got to an AFC championship game. So is he elite guy? Was he one of those guys? No, he wasn't. He had a damn good defense. He had a good running game, and everything kind of just fell into place. So what I'm saying is you don't have to have this elite quarterback to win a chip. So Dak can be a good quarterback and win the chip. They throw this elite thing around, and guys who aren't franchise quarterbacks get paid like franchise quarterbacks. That's the reality of it that happens. My thing is, I don't need Dak Prescott to be no elite damn quarterback. I just need him to be good when it matters the most. Once again, I need Dak Prescott to be good when it matters the most. So this is the year we're going to see, 2023. Big Game James, hit the like button. Tell me what you think. Go check out my Facebook page. It's popping right now. It's a lot of good stuff on there. Big Game James Facebook page. Hit the like button if you like. Got some more great interviews coming high school. And we got a great person we just scooped up that you're going to love, that we're going to have on the final word next week. You're going to love it. But that's my quick thoughts. Tell me what you think. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I'm speaking a lot of truths in this. I'm out.